Hello everybody, it's Voodoo here with a game review, something which I haven't done in quite some time. And this game review, I'll admit I'm pretty late on, and I apologize that it's taken me so long to make this review. But originally, I got caught up when the game came out with other things. I wasn't able to review the game, I kind of forgot about it for a while. But now, today, since I can't do any gameplay this week due to me being sick earlier in the week and now having to study for a big test coming up, I figured that I would do the review. And the review is of the game Madden NFL 13, this year's iteration of Madden. And I review this game as someone who has been a player of the Madden franchise almost my entire life, really, back playing the Madden 90s up till now for the most part. So I've been playing Madden for a very long time, and so I've really kind of seen the game evolve over time. So I'm making this review as someone who is extremely familiar with the Madden series and who has been a longtime player of the series of games. Now originally I was not gonna buy Madden NFL 13 because I was really tired of them not making any changes to Madden over the few years, and after I saw Madden 12 was basically just a remake of Madden 11 with new players. I didn't get that game because I didn't feel like spending money for roster updates. They really weren't changing anything. Well, I saw for this game that they did introduce the new physics engine. They made some changes to the game, so I decided to pick it up during the week that Hurricane Isaac hit here in Louisiana as something to do, something to kill time while I was stuck indoors for the hurricane, and I've been playing a lot of it. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on the game, on the new things in the game that they've added, on some of the things that they still have not changed, that have been needed to change for a very long time, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on this game. So, of course, Madden NFL 13 is a simulation of the NFL, American football. Everybody knows this at this point. And really, Madden gives a bunch of different game modes for you to jump in and play in the NFL. You have just your normal exhibition mode where you can just jump in and play a game with any teams that you want or against your friends. You have an online mode where you can go online and play against people online and build up your rank that way. There's also it's not really necessarily a new feature, it technically is, but in place of franchise mode, which has been the long-standing, basically season mode of the Madden franchise, they've included something called Connected Careers, which you can either do online or offline, and you can play them as a player or as a coach. And if you choose the coach option, that's more or less like the franchise mode of this game. You become a coach, and more or less you have all the options that you had in franchise mode to control your team, play games through the season, and make roster moves, all that kind of stuff as you did in franchise mode. Or you can be a player and work your way through playing as an individual player through seasons and things like that, trying to accomplish goals for your team. And there's also a couple of other modes like the Ultimate Team mode, which I've actually really never played, but it's basically a mode where you collect cards with with NFL players on them. And to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure how that mode works because I haven't really played the mode before. But that's in the game as well. So there's a variety of modes that you can play as, and what I've been doing pretty much is the Connected Careers as a coach, or franchise mode, which is the mode that many Madden fans play with because it's like the season mode. And Connected Careers as a coach, it differs from the franchise mode, and there's things that I like about it and there's things that I don't. And the reason I'm talking about this is because it's kind of a big deal that they've taken the franchise mode out, because as I said, that was the long-standing mainstay mode of Madden that the Madden fans would play, would be franchise mode. And it's funny because you really have no idea that Connected Careers as a coach is franchise mode because they don't explain this. There's just no franchise mode. So when I started playing the game, I was like, what the hell? There's no franchise mode in this game? Well, it's funny because about a week after I got the game, I actually looked online and figured it out. They came up with a pop-up when you booted the game that said, "Hey, do you like franchise mode? Check out Connected Careers as a coach," because nobody knew that they took franchise mode out and replaced it. So it was kind of like, what were they thinking there? But more or less, the way that the Connected Careers as a coach works is different in the way that, well, I guess we should more or less talk about how it's the same. And it's the same in the fact that you will take control of a team, any team that you want, and you will pretty much just like you did in franchise mode, you will go through the season, you will play the season, you will make roster moves, trades, all that kind of stuff, re-sign players, do the draft, all the kind of stuff that you were familiar with in franchise mode. The difference being is that there's a new layout. It's a new visual layout for the mode. It actually looks pretty good. There's like a news feed center now where they have a fake Twitter, because of course now with how big Twitter is, they implement it into the game, and they have some famous analysts and stuff like that who post fake tweets about what's going on, like Adam Schefter and a few of the other ones. They have a news feed, which is actually pretty cool when they do it in the game, is they actually have college players, fake college players that they created, and it actually keeps up with them over time. And in the news feed, you'll see stuff about some of the top college recruits for the upcoming draft, and I'll talk about how they performed, how they're doing, which is actually pretty neat. We'll talk about that when I talk about the draft. But some things that are interesting is you actually get XP in the franchise mode. You actually earn experience points, and the way you do this is by completing goals or milestone goals or something like that. Every week you'll have a few goals that if you complete, you'll get XP, such as if you hold a team under 200 yards of offense or 250 yards, if you get 3 takeaways, 3 sacks, something like that, you'll get so much XP. And then there's like season goals, like, you know, making the Super Bowl or going undefeated, or overall in the season have like 25 interceptions, all kinds of stuff where you can earn experience points. And with this experience, you can purchase special perks. Basically, like you can purchase something that will get you more experience for a particular position. So you can buy a package that increases the experience that your quarterback earns. Or you can buy packages that increase players want to re-sign with you in free agency. So if you're about to have your star quarterback up for re-signing, you can, if you have enough XP, you can spend it and buy a package that will increase your quarterback's want to re-sign with you, so it's easier to re-sign him. Which is a pretty cool new feature. It adds a little bit more depth to the game and stuff like that, which is nice that they have in there. So that's new. And you can actually be fired as a coach if you don't meet certain goals. Now, I don't know how this works because I've never had this happen to me, but you can actually be fired. You can also switch teams and coach other teams in this mode. So unlike franchise mode where you're stuck with the one team, in the Connected Careers Coaches mode, you can actually switch between teams. If you're fired, you can be rehired, you can demand release, stuff like that, which is interesting. So more or less, that's what's new about the Connected Careers. It's mainly the milestones, the XP system that is added, the fact that that you can switch teams and stuff like that. More or less, that's the difference. Other than that, it's pretty much the same thing that franchise mode was, with a new look, which I think is better, but with the added XP system, which I think is pretty cool. Again, talking about how they keep track of college stars and stuff like that, when you do the draft in each offseason, you, first of all, which is kind of nice, if you remember in the old Maddens, if you're a fan of Madden, that for the incoming rookies and stuff like that, their player picture would just be a generic computer-generated face that 9 times out of 10 looked like the most random individual that you would ever see. Didn't even look like a human, and would look like a big gorilla face or something. It was completely stupid. Well, apparently they hired extras for this Madden and took their picture so that you have real faces for the incoming rookies. Now, of course, you'll have duplicates because there's only so many extras that they took pictures of, but it is nice to have like a real face for your rookie players other than that stupid computer generated head that looked nothing like a real face. So that's pretty cool. And as I talked about, they keep track of the top college recruits, which are of course fake. They can't use the real ones it's illegal to use college athletes commercially, but it's pretty cool because during the draft, as some of these top recruits are drafted, not all of them, but a lot of them, they'll actually have a guy, I forget who he is or what his name is, but he'll come on during the draft, and as they're drafted, he'll give a little talk about their play at their university, at their college, how they got to this point in the draft, and it's pretty cool because it makes it more realistic than it used to be. Another thing I forgot to mention about the Connected Careers mode, which is different, is the scouting process. You'll remember the older Maddens, how you scouted was basically you would go and you had a certain amount of people you could scout, and you would go and select the people you want to scout, and every 4 weeks they would come back with a report on that person telling you some specific stat that was scouted. In this Madden, it's different because you actually are assigned scouting points, and you use these points to go in and you can spend points to scout different areas automatically. And you can scout different areas like awareness and durability, aggressiveness, all that kind of stuff, and you spend a certain amount of points and they'll tell you a potential letter grade, and if you spend more points they'll actually give you the real number value for that stat, which is interesting. Problem is, I think they messed it up a little bit because you don't get many scouting points at all during the course of the season, so really you can't find out that much about people. You can't scout very much because you don't accumulate that many scouting points. So you can only maybe figure out a good bit about maybe 2 or 3 players, which is kind of lame, I think, that they did that, because in the older Maddens you could get a lot of information about a lot of different players. In this game, because of the little tiny amount of scouting points that you accumulate, you really can't find out that much about players, so the scouting kind of doesn't work except for maybe 2 or 3 players, which is kind of lame, like I said. So more or less, that's the Connected Careers mode. There's an online feature to it, and I apologize because I'm not exactly sure how that works. I would tell you, but of course EA no longer puts manuals in their games. They're all on the system, so I can't look up in this manual how it works. And I'm not going to turn the whole game on and go through the in-game manual just to figure that out. But that's the difference between Connected Careers as a coach and franchise mode. I wanted to get into that because that's probably the meat of what people will be playing on this game, will be that Connected Careers coach mode. So now I really want to get into the meat of it. The X's and O's, no pun intended because it's football, but the gameplay of Madden 13, the things that they've added, all the gameplay aspects, okay? So first of all, to talk about the new things they added, the main thing that's new this year that they're selling the game on is this new Infinity engine, which is the new real-time physics engine that's put in the game for hits and movements and stuff like that for the players. So that's the big new thing that they added. We'll talk about that. Another new thing is they have another new commentator cast now, which is Jim Nantz and Phil Simms, which is a commentating team from CBS, who does real NFL games. And because of that, they've changed the look, the presentation of the score and the stats and all that to basically resemble CBS's presentations of the game. So if you watch NFL, you'll notice when you play this game that the graphics and the way the score and all looks is basically how CBS does it. So that's new in the game. They've added a few nice shots of the stadiums taken from outside the stadium, like the air blimp would be in real life. They've added some new shots like that, which is pretty cool. So that's more or less the major new stuff. So let's talk about the physics engine, because that's the main thing that they want to sell you on this game. And basically the main difference is that in past Maddens, the way that tackles would happen and the way that you would move and stuff like that, they were predetermined animations. So there may be, let's just say, 10 predetermined tackle animations, meaning when somebody hits you, they're going to tackle you in one of 10 different pre-designed ways. So if you play the game a lot, after a while, you start recognizing the tackle patterns, okay? Because they're predetermined animations. Well, what this game does is they actually don't have predetermined animations. They let the physics engine take over, and it happens real time. So there's no predetermined tackle animations. You will get tackled in different ways depending on how you run. It feels more natural. The physics of it are actually, it feels more like you're playing with real people than these predetermined tackle animations. And one of the little graphic things they've added with this new engine is a little bit of motion blur and stuff like that to try to make it look a little bit more realistic, and it does. It looks more realistic. For the most part, the physics feel more realistic when you go to make a tackle because it's happening live. So it's a pretty cool addition. I'm certainly glad that they did that. That needed to happen. It feels more natural and organic the way that tackles are made and things of that nature. However, there are points where the physics engine fails miserably, and this is going to be kind of a theme for the rest of this review, is this huge dichotomy between them trying to make the game much more realistic and get you more involved and have it more like a real NFL experience, and the points where they do that well, and then this huge dichotomy where they just fall flat on their face and it looks comical and it's completely stupid and cartoonish and looks nothing like a real football game, and there's this huge dichotomy, and we're going to talk about it, and it starts with the physics engine. On this side, where it's a real NFL experience, the tackles are more natural, it feels more organic, the motion blur, all that stuff looks really cool. But here's the dichotomy and the problem with the physics engine, is that because of this, they don't allow for players to like pass through each other or stuff like that. Basically, the way the physics engine is programmed, that whenever two bodies come in contact, there has to be a reaction. And the problem with this is, and it's hilarious but really stupid at the same time, is that after a play is over and there's people piled on the ground after a tackle or something, you will have these comedic pratfalls where people will try to get up, and because of the physics engine and they're bumping into each other, they'll react. So one guy, there could be a pile on the ground, and one guy will just be casually walking by, and he will literally do this amazing comic pratfall trip over another guy. He'll fall over his feet and flail like that and fall flat on his face. Another guy will walk by and trip over him and do this dramatic fall. And if there's a pile and people are trying to get up, they're falling over each other and knocking each other down, and it looks like you're watching an episode of the Three Stooges. And it completely takes you out of the reality of the game, because you just had a cool play, the physics were cool, you made this really bone-crushing tackle and you felt it, and then they're trying to get up and walking around and they're just tripping over each other and flailing their arms around like you're watching the Three Stooges, and it's a complete fail, and it completely takes you out of the realism that they're trying to portray in the game. Another thing that's very odd is that that's the physics, but you still have people that can walk straight through walls. Many times they'll score a touchdown, and the receivers will walk out of the back of the end zone, and they'll just keep walking, they'll hit the wall, and they'll just walk right through it like they're ghosts and disappear into the wall. The physics doesn't seem to apply to walls. The players just walk right through it, and again, it completely takes you out of the game. So again, there's points where the physics are really cool, like the tackles and the way the play develops, and then there's points where it's just stupid and comedic with people falling over each other well after the play is over and walking through walls, okay? So that's a problem. There is some differences in the dynamics of the gameplay from the previous couple of Maddens, to where defense has actually been really souped up, it seems like, in this game, to where defense is extremely dominant in this game. It's a lot harder to play offense in this Madden than it has been in previous two Maddens. A lot of the times in the previous Maddens, you would have many times where a ball would be thrown right in a defender's hands, it would hit him in the hands and bounce right off, and that would happen most of the time instead of getting an interception. In this game that still happens, but much more of the time, if a ball is thrown right to a defender, he will intercept the ball. And the defense has just really been upgraded, and people who are used to and have mastered the gameplay of Maddens 11 and 12 are going to take some time adjusting to the new gameplay dynamics. It's taking me a while, and I'm still adjusting to, because I was so comfortable with the previous gameplay. You have a lot less margin for error on offense now with the new gameplay mechanics, and you have an easier time actually playing defense because they've really boosted defensive stats for some reason in the game. So it's nice to have a little bit of a dynamic change in the gameplay. Um, Other than that, the playbooks and all that are pretty much the same deal. Not a lot of brand new plays or anything like that. You'll see a lot of the common themes, common plays that you've seen in previous Maddens. Um, the graphics are obviously extremely good. They're probably the best they've ever been. Again, with the motion blur, all that kind of stuff. But what I want to really talk about is where the game really falls flat on its face and delve into a whole litany of things where the game developers were simply just lazy and didn't put the time and their effort into the game to really make it a realistic experience, and things that just take you so far out of the gameplay that it's really disappointing. Things that have been kind of broken for many years and just still haven't been fixed up until this point. I'm going to get a drink of water and we'll start talking about that. Okay, so cool new things that they have added, I'll give them that, but problems with the game that are just laziness, okay? And problems that if you're a longtime Madden fan, you will definitely recognize as long problems that still haven't been fixed. A, the scoreboards in stadiums continue to read home and away, and they look so terrible and granularly that you can't even read the scores. So anytime that they flash to the scoreboard of the stadium, it still says home and away, and it looks terrible. You can't tell what the score is or anything like that. It looks awful. That's lazy. That we're in 2012 now, and you can't make a scoreboard, and you can't program, two little things for the scoreboard to show up, the two teams that are playing and have it actually readable. So that's a problem with me. I don't like it. 2, the crowd continues, even into Madden 13, to get loud and get quiet at the wrong times. Many times the crowd will be roaring at their highest volume when the home team has the crowd. When the away team has the ball, when the home team has the ball. When the away team has the ball, the crowd will be so silent you can hear a pin drop, even if it's a huge third down or it's late in the fourth quarter. The crowd will just sit down and not make any noise. That's still a problem. That's lazy game design. Another thing, the players who are on the sidelines and not active in the play, in the game when you're running a play or something like that and you pass the sidelines with the players, they continuously look like amorphous blocks of clay that barely resemble human beings, that look more like robots who are doing like one of 3 predetermined animations. They're either pumping their fists like this or just standing there. They don't look like real human beings. Now when they have like a little cutscene in the game that goes to the sidelines, of course you see all the players and they all look fine, but during the course of the game when you're just walking by the sidelines, the players look just like, not like humanoid blocks of clay. They look hideous. That's obviously a big problem that doesn't aid you in feeling like the game is real. Another thing, the photographers and all on the sidelines and in the end zone continue to be still figures. They do not move. They sit there in one position with a camera and don't move the entire game. Highly unrealistic. Another thing about the crowd, they continue to cheer even when the game, you could be blowing out the home team 41-0 and the crowd will still be there cheering just as loud as ever, even their home team's getting shut out. Again, just bad programming with the crowd noise and their reactions. There are bugs in the commentary as usual, where the other day I'm playing through the Connected Careers with the Saints. I was playing the Oakland Raiders the other day, and for some reason the commentator said this is a divisional game and it's Oakland and New Orleans, which obviously it is not. I just got through playing a playoff game actually against the 49ers just a few minutes ago, and again the commentator said it was a divisional game between 2 divisional opponents who have already met once this season, which of course it wasn't. So bad bugs with the commentary. You could be kicking off after a touchdown in the 3rd quarter and the commentators will say something like, alright, and the game is about to get underway with the Saints returning this kickoff, when it's in the middle of the 3rd quarter. So bugs with the commentary, the cues aren't correct there. Another thing is that pretty much, I think it's all NFL fields now. I'm not really sure, but outside the numbers at each 25-yard line, they have the shield of the NFL on the field, and they have that in this game. But for special occasions such as mainly the playoff games, like the divisional games, the conference games, they'll have the little symbols with the little metal football looking thing at that spot instead of the NFL shields. And they do that in this game, they put them there, but where they were lazy and didn't do anything is they just leave the shields on the ground. They don't even digitally take them out and put the playoff symbols on. So you'll see the playoff symbols just sitting on top of the NFL shield. You'll see the shield sticking out the sides of the symbol, or the one for like the AFC and NFC championship game where it's just like the open football kind of looking thing. You might know what I'm talking about. You see that on the field, you just see like the middle of the NFL shield under that because they were so lazy that they couldn't even program out the little NFL shield and program in the playoff thing. They just lay it right on top, and it looks terrible. It looks awful and unprofessional. So that's just a few of the things. I know that there's other problems that I can't really. Oh, there's a bug. There's a new bug in this game that hasn't been in any Madden that I ever remember, where on a punt return, if you call a fair catch, sometimes for no apparent reason you will catch the ball cleanly, but the game will rule it as a muff. So even though you called fair catch and you caught the ball, you're able to return it, and they'll say that it's a muff. Even though you don't drop the ball, you catch the ball cleanly after a fair catch, and you're able to run. I have no idea what that bug is about, and I don't know why it's there. More problems where I'm now 2 seasons in. I'm in my 3rd season. So what they've done is for like some of the quarterbacks like Cam Newton and most of the quarterbacks, they've programmed in little speech things for them to say, such as, last year Cam Newton as a rookie was sensational, he was great, or last year Drew Brees broke the passing record, last year this quarterback did blah blah blah. Which is fine if you're playing in the 2012-2013 season, because that's true. Last year all that stuff happened. The problem is I'm now 2 years past last year, and they're still saying the same cues. So I'm now in a year where Cam Newton is in his 3rd year at quarterback, and they'll still say the audio cue of, oh, last year Cam Newton is a rookie, blah, 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 even though we're 2 years past it, which is highly annoying. This season I was actually playing the Dallas Cowboys, and stuff happens in the game and people move around, and for some reason Tony Romo wasn't on the Cowboys anymore. He went to a different team. Kyle Orton was the starter of the Cowboys, and they were talking about Jason Witten, and they were talking about like, oh yeah, I know that Tony Romo really likes Jason Witten because blah blah blah. Romo wasn't even the quarterback. He wasn't even the quarterback of the Cowboys. He was off somewhere else. So again, bad programming that where when you're past this season, they still say the cues from this season about stuff that happened last year, even though in the game you're already well past that, so it makes no sense. More bad, lazy programming. So I just basically went off a litany of things that are just unprofessionally done in the game, or lazy, bad programming, all that kind of stuff in the game, and this is just a common theme with these Madden games year after year, where they might add a couple new things, but for the most part, they just have this huge dichotomy where they're like, oh, we're going to make it hyper-realistic with the physics and all this other kind of stuff, and then there's just this litany of things that are just unprofessional. And I was even playing this game in front of my parents and my dad, who really knows absolutely nothing at all about video games. He even watched me play the game and commented, wow, there's really a lot of things wrong with this game, isn't there? And for him to say that, there must be a lot of shit wrong with the game, because he doesn't know anything about video games at all. So for him to sit there and watch it, most people would sit there and be amazed, like, oh, look at the graphics and look at this, and people who are unfamiliar with games. But he's sitting there saying, wow, this game has a lot of problems, as he's watching, people well after the play pratfalling over each other and just making fools of themselves. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff wrong with this game. There's a lot of stuff wrong with Madden 13. Again, more lazy development, lazy programming. It actually came out that not only that, but they screwed up the Chicago Bears uniforms. I actually forgot the specifics of it, but they gave them like the wrong color pants. They completely screwed up the Chicago Bears uniform. Like, how do you screw that up in this game? Then they actually screwed up to where they had a player, I believe he was on the New York Giants, and I forget his name, but they had a player and they had this guy's picture with that player. Unfortunately, the thing was that there's two players in the NFL with the same name, and they flipped the pictures. They put the picture of one guy, they basically put the wrong picture with the wrong person on the wrong team. They had the same name, but they flipped the pictures and the teams. And he actually spoke out about this and came out and said, wow, man, you guys really fucked up, because that's not me. I don't play on this team. I play on the other team, and you screwed it up and you don't even care. And the sad part is yet another complaint I have about the game is that they're using pictures, the player pictures, for the players that are like 4 years old. They're the same pictures that they've been using since like Madden 2010 or 9. And you can tell they're old pictures. So that means that this poor guy probably had the wrong picture with him for the past 3 or 4 years, so that wasn't even him. So just how can you be that lazy, that unprofessional when you're making a game? I don't understand it. It's a common theme with these Madden games where they add a couple new flashy things, they try to sell it to you for all this great stuff and say, oh, this is so good, and they have all the TV commercials, this is the best Madden yet, and they still cannot fix simple things. And I don't want to hear people telling me, oh, well, you know, they have the people on the sidelines look like amorphous clay blocks because that's just too much graphical shit on the screen and the game would freeze. Bullshit. You have, especially on this system, the PS3, one of the most advanced computer system graphical capabilities on the planet, and you play games like the Uncharted series and just an endless amount of series where the entire game looks beautiful and everything looks amazing, and the game runs without a hiccup. Don't tell me that the PlayStation 3 can't handle you actually programming in real lifelike looking players on the sidelines or the photographers being able to move and telling me that the game is going to crash and have problems, because that ain't the case. The PS3 can handle a football simulation if it can handle Uncharted and all these other games. So that's a bunch of bullshit if they want to say that that's the excuse or the reason. Excuse me, I gotta keep drinking. I still got mucus from being sick. It's nasty. Anyway, so that's nonsense if that's the case, okay? The bottom line is they're lazy. They're lazy, and this is the major problem with Madden that other sports simulation games don't really have. They don't have any competition. It's just them. There's no other company making an NFL simulation game to where Madden actually has to keep their standards up and look professional, because the bottom line is, unfortunately, if you want to play an NFL simulation game, you have to play Madden. Another one doesn't exist. I believe 2K used to make an NFL simulator a long time ago, and they stopped making it. They haven't made one in years. So Madden is the only one. So, of course, when you don't have any competition, you don't really care, because you're like, well, bottom line is, if you want to play an NFL simulation, it's either us or nobody. So you got to take the game. We're just going to continue to be lazy and really add a couple new flashy things here and there, but overall not really change anything or benefit the look of it or anything like that. And that's a major problem. I don't know, maybe 2K should start making an NFL simulation game again to give EA some damn competition in making these games. And maybe 2K should do it better and make it more professional looking and all that other stuff. And then maybe Madden will get the idea that they can't just continue to push off subpar product to us. So, that's really my honest thoughts on Madden. I know this review is a long one, but it's going to be when I've been a long-time player of this series and I have so much to say about it. As someone who's followed the series for years and years and years about what I truly think of this game, and I want to go as in-depth as I can for people who have been fans of Madden who want to know, should we buy the game? And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, there's a couple new nice things in the game, okay? The physics are probably the best thing about this game, even though they ultimately kind of fail because of the comedy pratfalling and all that happens after plays are over. But during the course of the play, it's pretty good, okay? And it's definitely an improvement over the old tackling animations. That's probably the best thing about this game. The connected career modes, is it nice? Yeah. They've added a couple new things like the XP system, which is cool, and following the NCAA players and stuff like that, which is nice. Is it really that big of a change in gameplay over the original franchise mode? No, not really. The XP is nice, but it really isn't that big a deal to use it to buy, packages to upgrade your player's potential of signing with you. It's really not that big of a deal. So does it really enhance the gameplay? No, not really. The new commentators, the first few games, you're like, oh, this is nice, it's new, it's different people, I don't have to listen to Chris Collinsworth anymore, be super annoying. But after playing with them for a few games and experiencing the game bugs, and after you start getting their speeches recycled, it gets annoying, just like all commentators in Madden. They say some really stupid shit that doesn't even make any sense. Like they'll say stuff like, it'll be 1st and 10 and you'll throw a nice 8-yard completion, and Phil Simms sounds like an idiot in this game and says really dumb stuff like, if it's like I said, if you throw an 8-yard completion on 1st down, 2nd and 2, he'll say, oh, well, oh, good for him, he's really accurate, he threw a nice short pass, but he should have thrown it down the field because obviously that's just a wasted play. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? I got a nice 8-yard completion, go screw yourself. And I don't know, it's really stupid. They also didn't program in the game. The announcers never take into consideration drops. So you'll throw a perfect pass to a receiver, he'll drop the ball, and the commentators will be like, well, that was a horrible throw by the quarterback, terrible decision, all this other stuff, and it's just like, no, he just dropped the ball. So the commentators in the end, they're new, but it's really the same old crap from old Maddens because they say stupid shit and you get really tired of them really fast. Other than that, the game is just continuously unprofessionally made, and a lot of things are poorly executed, and I went through that whole list of things that I really felt were were unprofessionally done with the game. So in the end, do I recommend hardcore fans of Madden or lifelong players of Madden buy this game? It's really up to you. If you want the new rosters, if you want the new physics and a couple new bells and whistles, then yeah, go out and get it. If you are tired of being force-fed the same crap, the same unprofessionalism that's been in Madden for years, if you're really not impressed with a couple of new things like the new physics and all that, then should you spend $65 on this game? No, not really. It's really just up to you, and unfortunately that's the sad part, is that again, if you want to play an NFL simulation, this is your bet. This is the only option you've got, so you have to make that decision. But those are just my honest feelings on it. So after the second longest review I've ever done on my channel, just short of the Skyrim review, what is my ultimate score for Madden 13? Well, after taking everything into consideration, I can only give Madden 13 a 6.5 out of 10. It's better than some of the older Maddens because of the physics and because of some of the new stuff they've added, but in the end, lots of unprofessionalism, lots of lazy programming, and I just see that continuing to be the future of Madden, so I can only give it really a 6.5 out of 10. It's the gameplay is solid enough, but everything else is pretty much the same, and just EA not giving a crap about the consumer and, just making shit look unprofessional. That's all I can really say about it. So, alright, apologize for going extremely long in this review. Thank you if you stuck with me. Had a lot to say, because it's a franchise, like I said, that I'm extremely familiar with. Had a lot to get off my chest about it. Been saving it up for a long time. I'm Voodoo. I hope that you enjoyed this game review. Hope it was helpful to you in determining whether or not you want to purchase Madden 13 if you're still on the fence about it at this point. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Leave in the comments what you think below, and I will see you next time on another one of my honest and thorough game reviews. Thank you guys for watching.